1999 saw the release of The Adventures of Elmo in Grouchland, the second ever Sesame Street motion picture, with the first being Follow That Bird from 1985. The film was about Elmo going to Grouchland to save his blanket from the Grouches, or something to that extent. I don't know, I've never actually seen the movie. Anyway, around that same time, we got a Game Boy Color game based on the film, courtesy of New Kid Co. and Bonsai Entertainment Corporation. Spoiler alert, neither company is in business today, so let's check this game out regardless. Elmo in Grouchland is a side-scroller where you control Elmo through a number of levels in his quest to reunite with his blanket. Level 1 has you avoiding open manholes and squirting fire hydrants in Sesame Street. Level 2 is an auto-scrolling level where you avoid objects as you make your descent to Grouchland. Level 3 has you clearing away fog with a pinwheel. Level 4 has you using the fire hydrants to take down the helicopter in the game's only boss battle. Level 5 is another auto-scrolling level where Elmo rides a minecart. And then there's the final 3 levels of the game, which is just a simple head-to-the-exit fare that eventually leads you to your blanket with minimal obstruction. Now let's get something out of the way right now. Despite being rated E for everyone, Elmo in Grouchland is aimed primarily at younger children, so the challenge level is a little lacking for us older people. You have very simple gameplay, very straightforward level layouts, and very few actual levels which aren't that long to begin with. To a skilled player, it shouldn't take you more than anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes to beat the game on either of the game's 2 difficulty settings. And yes, there are 2 difficulty settings in Elmo in Grouchland, although don't get too excited. Hard mode merely adds a couple extra obstacles, speeds the auto-scrolling, and in one case makes one level longer. Even so, the challenge is offset by the number of health pickups and extra lives you could pick up along the way. And even in that regard, your biggest threats come from accidentally falling into one pit too many, or colliding with solid objects in the minecart level. Everything else is fairly easy to navigate. Control is functional and responsive, but suffers from somewhat floaty, jumpy mechanics, making Elmo somewhat difficult to maneuver in mid-air. It's not a total game breaker, however. If anything, it really doesn't affect the game all that much. Elmo in Grouchland sports some fairly decent graphics with an adequate Elmo sprite during gameplay and some top-notch quality backgrounds, whether they be the decent-looking buildings in Sesame Street, the crooked, crayon-drawn-looking buildings of Grouchland, or the adequately moody mine level. The overall art style for the level intros is fairly simplistic but suits the game just fine. Although points must be docked for the opening introduction, which tells us the story of Elmo losing his blanket, but Elmo never loses said blanket, so why am I even playing this? Sound quality is also fairly adequate. There's the Sesame Street theme in there and some other songs, and they sound alright. Not top-notch quality or anything like that, but okay enough to be tolerable. And even if they weren't, the game doesn't last long enough for the tunes to be annoying. Sound effects are okay, nothing special. Overall, Elmo in Grouchland is a very simplistic kids game. Basically, Baby's first side-scroller is perhaps the most apt description I could use to describe this game. For the older folks, there's not much in terms of substance or play value, as the whole thing can be completed in about as much time as it takes for you to unload a number 2 in the John. For what it does well enough that it isn't a total stinker, but unless you are the main target audience that Elmo in Grouchland is aiming for, which is very young, very little kids, there is absolutely no reason you should waste your time on this. It might last long enough for a bathroom break, but let's be honest here, there are plenty of cheapo rubbish games on your phone that could get the job done just as easily and are much more accessible than Elmo in Grouchland. Today's episode is brought to you by the letters C-. That's all I got.